Welcome to the series Employee Health Services, Mind, Body, and Spirit. Employee Health is a section in the City of Albuquerque's Risk Management Division. Its mission is to promote a sense of community and increase wellness among city employees and their families by providing education and counseling about physical and mental health. And now, Mind, Body, and Spirit with Dr. Julia Bain. Hello and welcome to Mind, Body, and Spirit. I'm Dr. Julia Bain. Today we have a very special program for you. We are going to speak with Dr. Julie Zuniga. Thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you for inviting me.
We've known each other for 30 years?
At least.
Dr. Zuniga has been a clinical social worker for almost 40 years. She's part of the faculty of Highlands University. She is in private practice, former president of the National Association of Social Workers. You are a rock star. I am so privileged to have you on my program. We've talked about this for years. I'm so glad you're here today.
I'm glad to be here, and it's a privilege to be here. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Let's just start off, since you are an expert on what good mental health is. Let's just start talking about what is good mental health, in your opinion.
In my opinion, yes. Well, first I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the myths that we have about seeking mental health.
Okay.
And, sometimes, and still, even though we're in 2018, people still think that going to seek professional assistance in the mental health area is because they're weak. Mm-hmm. Or, unfortunately, we also still hear things such as, oh, it's because maybe you're a little crazy.
Right.
And it's very unfortunate, right? Mm-hmm. But, what I would like to emphasize is the fact that seeking help is no sign of weaknesses at all. It's completely the opposite.
It takes courage.
It takes a lot of courage and strength to say, I'm going through this hurdle and I need some support, I need some help to get through this. And don't we all,
Yes, nobody does this alone, do
none
they,
of
Julie?
us. None of us, and we all find ourselves in that place at one time or another.
Absolutely.
And to be able to have a place where to go and get that guidance, that assistance to get us through is extremely important. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think, first of all, is that just wanting to make sure that we all understand that all of us can be at a place like that where we need help at one point or another in our life.
Yeah, being able to say out loud, I have a problem.
Yes.
Because, trust me, every single person watching this program has at least one problem. And if you only have one, you are really fortunate. Yeah. But one of the things I say to our new employees here at the city, the bravest, strongest warriors of all time, only the bravest, only the strongest, have had the ability to say two words, and those two words are, help me.
Yes.
Help me. I can't do this by myself. Nobody
Yes.
can. So you're saying the first step really is to, have the courage to own it and say, I'm in distress. I'm not feeling right. I'm not feeling well. I need some help.
I need help, yeah. And sometimes, it varies on the issues that we are dealing with. Sometimes it just helps to talk to someone, right? Mm-hmm. Someone that you trust and that it's a safe person to speak with. But many times it needs to go beyond that. It needs to go to the next step of asking for professional help.
Yes.
And that's the next step. Yeah.
So good mental health is, first of all, identifying that it's important. And it's also more than just, we all have about 70,000 thoughts a day. Typically, we repeat the same things to ourselves over and over again. But it's good mental health is also so influenced by what we eat and how we move. Why don't you talk about that some?
Yeah, and so, yes, so the next step is, I guess, what I would call self-care. Okay. And the importance of self-care, I cannot emphasize how important it is. And they're basic things. I mean, a lot of those are just basic things that if we are aware, and I think maybe in this day and age, that's one of the issues that we have, that we are so bombarded with so much, the media, there's so much going on that we tend to forget about ourselves. And it's so important to really be aware that, I need to eat well, I need to sleep fine, I need to nourish my body with good food, a lot of good water that is going to keep me hydrated, and avoid things such as drugs and alcohol, because that completely takes our state of mind to a completely different level.
Yeah.
And doing those things, good exercise, good sleep, talking, having a good support system that we developed over time, or that we are beginning to develop, so that we can have a place where to go and where to talk. And so those are some of the main things, that's all accessible to all of us.
Yes.
Many times we think, well, how do I keep myself healthy? And when I say that, I mean it at all levels, which is just so appropriate to the name of your show, because it's our body, it's our mind, and it's our spirit. It is very easy, especially in this society that we live in, that we forget that aspect of ourselves, the whole spiritual aspect of who we are. And it's so important to be able to address all of the issues that we need as a human being.
Yeah, I own my life. I'm in charge of me.
Yes.
And part of being strong and getting stronger, like you said, having people in our lives who can give us the gift of encouragement, somebody who can look at us with love and say, you can do this.
Yes.
You can do this. You've been through struggles before, you have prevailed, you will prevail again. Yes. Because sometimes when people get into this mindset, when they start to feel helpless, that's a very dark, lonely place to be.
It is. And my hope as I work with individuals and families is always that not only am I the catalyst to give that road as to self-acceptance, but that they own it, and then they can do that for themselves.
Yes.
Because I think we all have that capability of learning that for ourselves, and all of what we need is within us. We just forget. And so part of my work, as I work with individuals, it's also that, to assist them in helping them remember that part of themselves, that those tools that are so within, but that have been forgotten, but that they can access it at any time.
That's a great point.
Having that readiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
nice. And self-acceptance. I love that
yes.
term. I love that term. So in terms of achieving and striving towards mental health, what advice do you give to people when you're working with them to generate their self-acceptance? Feel like I need to be my own best friend before I can give to anybody else.
Exactly.
So how do you help people with that?
And again, I think that's something that, because of the society that we live in, it's a reminder for all of us that first I need to take care of me. I need to love me before I can give to anyone else. And sometimes we get very busy in trying to be in the outside world, and we forget about our inner self. And so that's part of the work that I really like to do with individuals, to really come in touch with that part of themselves, that inner self. Because again, it's there, but because we work in we live in these types of systems, we really tend to forget that part of ourselves. Children come with that. They come equipped with all of those very intuitive being sensations, that we forget as we grow up and we get socialized into our lives. So it's part of the work, trying to get back into that part of being in touch with that part of ourselves. So that's a lot of the work that I really enjoy doing. And,
nice.
And it's magical to see, really, when the person is ready to get back. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. it's a lot of work also, and sometimes it's painful work. But coming out at the other end, I know I always hear it was all worth it.
Like letting go, being able to let go of some of the horrible things that other people have done to us, and accept that we are still incredible. They didn't take anything away from us.
Yes.
We're still here.
Yeah. And again, being in touch with that sense of purpose, I'm here for a reason.
Yes.
I have that strength. I've been resilient to be able to still, within whatever has happened, I'm still here. And I'm not only, I'm not a survivor, I'm a thriver. And we can all thrive,
Love it.
Yeah.
Sense of purpose. And since we're talking about childhood, not that bullying is just about childhood, it's also in the workplace. I want to talk to you about bullying. And because people are starting to talk about it. I think in the past people have felt a sense of shame, have been embarrassed that they have been bullied. And haven't really had the words to say, help me with this. I'm being beaten down verbally by this predator, sometimes they're monsters. Can you talk about bullying for a few minutes?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. And, I'm a true believer that, again, we start looking at childhood, and many of these issues, that's where they stem from. They start there. Unfortunately, we have children that are being bullied at home by their own family members, and if they're not being bullied directly, they are witnesses to to the bullying actions.
Even domestic violence.
Domestic violence, right? Yeah. And so I think as parents, I know when, I do a lot of work with parents, and I really talk to them about that, be aware of what you're doing. What are you modeling for your children? Are you the victim and you are showing your children to be victimized and they become victims also? Are you the bully who is bullying others and your children are learning from you to be also bullies? So some of that starts there, definitely. And
modeling self-respect and modeling respect for others. But if you don't respect other people, then you don't care.
Right.
If you hurt them.
Right.
One of the things I like to mention whenever I can is once you say something out loud, you can never take it back.
That's right, yeah. Words are powerful.
Words are powerful, but if you don't value other people's feelings, if you don't believe that people are equal to you and worth as much as you are, you don't care.
Yeah.
You'll say whatever you want just to sway that power dynamic so that you feel more powerful than they are.
Yeah. And it's so important, again, to teach our children to be strong and walk away from situations, so that they are not being bullied. I know my granddaughter and I often talk about this. She's 9 years of age. Her name is Azalea Rose. And she's just amazing, and she tells me, Grandma, you don't take the bait. You never take the bait and you walk away. And I tell her, Azalea, you are very smart in saying that.
What a smart girl. Way to go, Azalea Rose. I could write a song, Azalea Rose. What a beautiful name.
It is.
Don't take the bait, Grandma.
Don't take the bait, yeah. So
she is so wise. I do that at employee trainings. I'll say, there are predators among us who want to manipulate you, who want to hurt you, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to throw out that bait, and they're expecting you to go by, here you are, the big fish, dun, 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 dun. Once you take that bait, whoosh, ding, they got you.
Yeah, completely.
They got you. Your power is, you just gave your power away, right?
Yes.
Azalea Rose.
She's an amazing little girl.
Did you teach her that, or did she just come up with that herself?
We've talked about it for a while, because those are the realities, right, that children are facing in schools right now. And not only children, but adults in the workplace.
Yes.
Also face what we call, being bullied at work, and which is unfortunate. And again, what type of skills, what do we learn? What do we teach so that we do not engage in in those types of situations, aggressive or violent situations, because at the end, everybody loses, right?
Right.
And everybody's responsible.
Because it's so unhealthy.
It is.
Some of the scripts I give people to say is, what's wrong with you? Always with a smile.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And to also remember that you can be an active bystander. So if you are watching somebody who's being bullied, we actually do have an obligation to step up, because
Yes, we
bullies
do.
pick targets that they think are weak.
Yes.
Right? So if you see somebody who's being bullied, you know, what you can do is look at the person who's being bullied and say, "Are you okay?" Or if it's really intense, you can look at the bully and say, "Stop talking!"
Yes.
Always with a smile.
The smile
to-
always helps, yes.
Yeah, to give them a directive that they have crossed a line, stop talking.
Yes. Yeah, and also having those lines of communication, open communication, so that whether if it's a child, if they can't do anything about it right at the moment, that they know where they can go to get some help,
Get back up.
right? And then also as adults, you know, in those situations where if we at the moment feel that we cannot absolutely not do much about
Maybe
it,
you're shocked.
Yes.
You're in shock.
but to definitely report it, to go and seek help, but to address the issue. We cannot ignore it.
No.
It's everyone's responsibility to take action against it, because we don't need that type of behavior in our society.
No.
It's only detrimental to all of us, because it affects all of us at one point or another.
It's so toxic.
Very toxic, yeah.
It's mean. It's aggressive. It's wrong. You know? And people who perpetrate that behavior do not have the values of love and kindness and respect. They don't care.
Yeah.
And that's all the more reason why it's important for us to say, halt.
Yeah,
We are not going to tolerate it.
correct.
Not here.
Yeah. So.
Nice. So, Azalea Rose. I hope I
Oh,
get
she'll love that.
I hope I get to meet you someday, Azalea Rose. Let's talk about another form of aggression that's going on a lot, and people are talking about a lot with the Me Too movement, whether it is rape or any type of sexual harassment. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What kind of advice, how do you help people who are going through something like that?
And again, very unfortunate types of experiences that we have in this world, right? But I think, you know, one of the very important things is don't just ignore it. Don't be quiet about it. You need to speak up. I think that's something that's really important. You know, you need to speak up. And also, again, it's about protection, right? Protect yourself. Protecting yourself in those situations, and giving the very strong messages that this is not something that you are accepting or in agreement with. And I understand, you know, that sometimes even though the message is being very clear, the abusers, oppressors, perpetrators don't want to listen, right? But that, I think that's one of the first steps, you know, to not be quiet about it.
No.
To know that, you know, you need to go somewhere, whatever channel it is that whatever step is that you need to go to. If that person directly is not paying attention to you, to take the next step and not let it just be quiet, silent. I think that's the worst thing that can happen to such abuse. You know, that it's silent.
You know what I tell my clients? Fight back. Fight back. Yeah. There is no rule or law that says you have to be polite all the time, or that you have to acquiesce if someone is in a position of authority. Fight back. And I know the reason why a lot of times people do not is out of fear, not only that they're going to be, you know, physically assaulted, which you may be, and that's all the more reason to fight back. But also because fear of losing your job and losing your ability to feed your family. And I just want to encourage everyone watching, don't go there, okay? You're going to be able to feed your family. Fight back. Fight back. because these people are not going to make a turn and become kind. That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
They're going to have a
yeah.
consequence.
And the fighting back also may look different for different individuals in different situations.
Talk about that.
But definitely, again, it's like, how do you start not just being silent about it? Fight back, talk about it, but also, you need to be cautious, I guess, as to how you're going to do it, to, again, in protection for self. And that always needs to be, I think, something very important, to be cognizant about, that self-protection, because you don't want to expose yourself in a situation, where you're fighting back, and you haven't really. Sometimes it does need to be methodically prepared,
right,
so that you can get through the right channels,
right,
in situations.
Right.
The other thing that I like to mention a little bit is that the awareness that, because I think as a society we also sometimes have just the ideas that abuse and harassment only happens to women. And I think we also need to be aware that it also happens to men.
Indeed.
And maybe not as much, maybe we don't hear about it as much because maybe men are embarrassed to talk about it, but definitely that it's also something that does happen, and that we need to have that awareness, and that and I'm talking at all ages of young men to older men, because I've had situations where, from my perspective as a professional, I've seen the situation as being abusive. And because it was a young man or a boy, moms, even inclusive moms, say things like, "Oh, but it was okay because he's a boy," and we need to remind ourselves that it's never okay. It doesn't matter what gender we are. That happens a lot. Unfortunately,
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it, and I've counseled men also.
Yeah.
And
I have too, and it's
the humiliation, in terms of I'm a guy. This isn't supposed to happen to me.
Right.
And I've been a counselor for almost 40 years myself, and I've worked on locked psychiatric wards. I've worked with people who are very disabled, blind, deaf, aggressive. I can take a punch. I can take a punch. I've done it before. And so I'm not scared. But not everybody can say that. I'm a trained professional.
Right.
Not everybody can say that, and I certainly wouldn't want anyone to put themselves in harm's way.
Yeah.
So sometimes running is the best.
Is the best thing, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Just, you don't even have to say anything. Just turn on your heel and take off. Run to the security officer, run to a phone where you can call 911, run to your boss, run to your high school teacher. Just run.
Right, yeah.
Escape.
Yes, get away from the situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Escape.
Yeah. And I think something that would be really wonderful if we could all have that strength, that inner strength, right, to really stand on the ground with our 2 feet very solid and say, yes, stop, or don't do this. But again, unfortunately, in many situations, individuals don't have that. I think it is also, as professionals, our responsibility to guide them there and show them how to reconnect with that part of themselves, right? That self-strength, that inner strength.
Yes.
But unfortunately, we are all in different places at those levels.
Right, and I'm big. There's a lot of people who are a lot smaller than I am, and the smaller you are, the more vulnerable you are. So know, what your capacity is in terms of if you don't know how to fight, you might want to take a self-defense class. That could be so empowering, just that alone. Yeah. Know how to, block and punch, and how to, just the basic steps of self-defense, I think should be taught in every school, personally.
Yeah. I guess, but I'm thinking, gosh, do we have to do that? But we live in a world that it's unfortunately, that's how it is, you know. But
There are
yes,
predators among us. Why should
Yes.
we assume that we are safe in the presence of
That's right.
strangers?
Yeah.
We may not be, or
Yeah.
even the presence of people that we know.
that we know, yes. But
Yeah. I mean, I saw Wonder Woman. Did you?
I haven't yet.
Oh, you've got to. You'll love
It's
it.
good, yeah?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's you know, predators among us. It's sad but true. We cannot be naive.
Yes. And so we have to have tools to be able to deal with those situations. And tools that will help us rather than hinder us. Yes, we don't want to get into altercations that, you know, will have so many consequences. But definitely doing it in the best way possible so that we do not become victims. Yes.
And you've worked with so many people, Dr. Zuniga. Can you give us an example or think of a story of someone who was able to rise like a phoenix from the ashes? Somebody who was able to say, "I'm taking my life back." Can you think of a story?
Let me see. Not necessarily. Let me see. I'm thinking. Not a story necessarily of a particular person, you know, but I mean, I have witnessed that when an individual comes in and, you know, he or she says, I'm in this place where I'm lost,
Yeah.
and I really want to find myself, you know, and through the work of, again, you know, the importance of self-care, of self-recognition, of self-love, that process that, you know, we are talking about it in minutes, that takes many, many months or years, you know, but to be able to see that at the end of the, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, right? And the person says, you know, I suffered, I cried, it was so hard, I wanted to give up at the moment, but I see that now, you know, with all the work that I've done and really recompiling myself, reclaiming myself,
Yes.
I'm in a different place, I'm stronger, and I still have lots of work to do, you know, because also I think that's also part of the reality that we never arrive.
We're all
We
an
never
ongoing
achieve,
process, right? We never
right?
arrive.
But it's a work in progress, and but they say, you know, this is such a much better place where I was than where I was when I first started coming to see you.
Absolutely, there is hope. There's always hope.
There's always
You
hope.
will grow stronger. You're never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. And if it's calling 911, if it's calling a crisis line, if it's calling your rabbi, if it's calling your best friend, if it's running to your neighbor's house and saying, I need help, I need it, whatever. It takes courage to do that, and I just don't want a single person watching this program to think that they're alone with it, because they're
No,
not.
they're not.
And we only have a couple of minutes to wind up all this wonderful wisdom that you have shared with everybody today. What would you like to leave the audience with, Dr. Zuniga?
You know, I want to emphasize what you just said. We are not alone, although many of us feel that way. And the one thing that I know and I've learned is that each and every one of us wants to be heard and validated. And we are important, you know, each and every person that is watching this program or listening to us, you know, everyone is important and you're valuable. Sometimes we need to hear that from someone else.
Yes.
And so learning that and hearing it from someone else so that we then learn to say that to ourselves, that each and every one of us has value in this world. We have a purpose, we have value, and we're beautiful human beings that are here for a reason, you know. And I mean, I like to say, you say we only have a couple more minutes? Yeah. So I'd like to say, you know, that one of the things that I always tell the families, individuals that I work with is that, and it's something that in my community of healers that we talk about all the time, is that as we heal ourselves, we heal the earth. And we need to remind ourselves of that, you know, to just really continue and keep on working at that level. Many times we want to do a lot in the outside, but it starts with ourselves. And as we start with our self-healing, we really impact many others, and we really have that impact.
That is a perfect place to end this wonderful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Thank you. I hope you'll come back and we can talk some more.
That would be fun.
Okay,
Yes.
great. And thank you for watching. Remember, you are never alone. Who you are, what you do, makes the world a better place. You are important. You matter. You're beautiful. So thank you for tuning in. Take care of yourself. And until next time, this is Dr. Julia Bain. Be happy and be well.
This has been Employee Health Services Mind, Body, and Spirit. For more information, call the City of Albuquerque's Employee Health Services at 768-4613. Let the Employee Health Services staff let you be your best at work, at home, and at play.